love the format, Gene. All right. Hi, my name is Alipio De Vera. I am the owner of Water Fast Warriors, a health coaching company, and also doing fasting research. We are here today to hear a testimonial from Margery Benesh, who has been part of the fasting support group since January 2019. Conducting the interview will be Gene Lotus, who is an investigative journalist by trade. And so take it away, Gene.
Well, we are totally thrilled. I am totally thrilled to talk to Margery about her fasting experience, because Margery has been an inspiration to me in my own fasting journey. Margery and I have shared a fasting support group with Alipio that started out as the January fasting challenge, and here it is almost November. So we've kept it going, and one of the things about Margery is consistency. So Margery, can you introduce yourself? Tell us where you're based and how old you are, and tell us a little bit about how you got interested in fasting as a sort of health choice.
Thank you, Jean. I'm based in Southern California, Upland, California, to be exact. I'm 72 years old, and I have lived here in Upland since 1959. However, I've had the opportunity over the years to leave Upland and go to other cities, countries, and now I'm back in Upland. I became interested in fasting after I met Alipio back in 2019. Along with the fasting, regular exercise. I heard often from Alipio about fasting and exercise. Well, my fasting was hit and miss. A 12-hour eating window or 12, 13-hour eating window, and 12, 11-hour fasting window. And then from listening to Alipio, it went down to a 10-hour eating window, a 9-hour, but not consistent. Some days an 8-hour eating window, and I was really thrilled, but most days 9, 10, 11, 9, 10, back and forth. Not consistent with my exercise. No. Couple days a week, sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, sometimes in the evening. Then January of this year.
The rubber hit the road.
Yes. I was in a meeting with Alipio and overheard him talking about a fasting challenge. Yes, I paid my dues and said, I want to be part of it. Then I became consistent. I started walking first thing in the morning when I first get up, before I did anything. That really worked. I became consistent. 89 days in a row. I did my morning walk, and my time restricted eating became consistent. A 19-hour fasting window down to an 18-hour fasting window, down to a 16-hour. Then I got in periodically once a week, a 24-hour fast, and several days a week, a 20-hour fast with only a 4-hour eating window.
Which is one meal a day.
Which is basically 1 meal a day. 1 meal a day, and sometimes a 21-hour fast and a 3-hour eating window, 1 meal a day. Of course, I during that one meal, I reduced my calorie intake, but had enough calorie intake to be sustainable for my energy, for my brain. I have felt like this is a wonderful new lifestyle. The exercises really helped for my balance. I was carrying a bag of groceries, walking across the parking lot, and most parking lots in our area, there's trees around and there's roots that come up through the parking lot. So the blacktop isn't smooth, and I tripped over a bump in the parking lot carrying a bag of groceries. I was able to right myself step without straining any part of my ankle, legs, or body. I didn't spill the groceries. I caught myself and continued on to the car. And then I thought, thank you, Olivia, for these exercises, for my balance and strength. It is still an ongoing journey. I am not down to my ideal weight that I want to get down to. I'm over 200 pounds. I want to get down to 140, but I don't expect it to be overnight. I do have a note in my fasting journal. February 9, 2021, 1 year from now, get back on a horse. I used to do a lot of riding.
That's what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah. I used
What
to
is
do a
your
lot of
motivation?
horseback riding. Well, I had two motivations, not only this note, but a dress I actually never wore. It was a dress that I had spent more money on than most of my clothes. And I bought it for a specific party with a specific gentleman that I was dating. And something happened that I couldn't go to the party. And it upset me that I couldn't go. It also upset my date that I couldn't go, but I never wore that dress. And then I put on weight and couldn't get into that dress. So here this dress is stuck in the back of my closet for 20 years, 25 years, couldn't get into it. And so picturing that dress, which I was looking forward to wearing into the party, that was my motivation to really do something. Of course, my 7-year-old granddaughter is a motivation, and then getting back on a horse comfortably. I won't wait till February. I'm down enough in weight that I'm ready to go horseback riding again. I feel comfortable. I wouldn't strain the horse's back. I'm not yet under 200 pounds. I'm at 206, but it's enough that I wouldn't strain the horse's back. Actually, what's holding me back from a horseback ride is I can no longer just drive over to the stables and rent a horse. They take the places that rent horses in our area. You have to register online and reserve your time in advance. So that is what I haven't done. I'm old school. I'm used to just driving over to the local stables and renting a
Right.
horse.
It's probably COVID related, right?
It is
The registration
COVID-related,
system.
yes.
Yeah.
Before the end of the year, we've also had a lot of hot weather. We had a long, hot summer. It started before spring and it ended after fall. So I wasn't really pushing it, but now we have nice cooler weather. And before the end of the year, I will be horseback riding again, and it will be before February 2022.
There we go. Can you tell me a little bit about, you've mentioned a specific blouse that you were wearing, as Olivia has talked about, not basically not worrying too much about the scale, but measuring how your clothes fit. You had mentioned a specific blouse that you had wanted to get into, which was maybe a little a mid-tier milestone before the dress. So
Yes,
could you talk a little bit about that?
the blouse is loose on the arms. The top of the blouse just is very loose, but around the hips and lower stomach, I can now button the buttons, but they're still snug. Just a minute. It's still snug around the hips, the lower stomach, and Alipio has told me more than once when I get frustrated, your body's going to lose weight where it wants to, not where you want it to. I know my thighs and legs are thinner. My pants are very loose. In fact, one day I was taking my morning walk and I found myself pulling up my pants. They were sliding down as I was walking. So I got a pair of suspenders instead, which I've had in the closet, instead of investing in clothes that may not last but a few months comfortably. I would just wear the suspenders. But yes, I noticed my legs, my thighs and legs are thinner, but not around the hips and lower stomach.
So when, can you tell me just about how you incorporated this, like the walking? What you sort of the mental.
I just said I need to walk daily, and the best time to do it is to get it done first thing. So I just said I need to do it, and I was fortunate enough that I just did it.
And what was the change? I mean, we all in the fasting group, you know, here we are online from all over the country, logging in, and Margery is always checking in and having done her walk. What was the Zoom community helpful with that?
Oh, absolutely. A couple of times, I used to also snack at night, which I don't do. Actually, I don't do snacking anymore. Occasionally, I'll have a late dinner. If I feel brain dead or brain exhausted and I have more work to do, I'll have a late dinner. But most of the time, I try to finish all my eating by 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. No late night snacking. I used to snack and watch TV or read a book. That didn't fit in with my time restricted eating, so I just stopped doing that. But once in a while, I have had a late dinner, 8:30, but I make it a decent meal, not snack food, a little protein and vegetables.
Tell me a little bit about you've advised me, because I work from home and I find myself in a time window, but then, you know, go downstairs, get a cup of tea, and oh, look, there's some chips. You know, you have advised me about how you put some sort of treats in your main meal when you're doing.
I do.
Yeah, could you talk about that? Because that's really a good idea.
Yes, I do have treats and dessert. Treats as a dessert in my main meal. I would enjoy snacking on cheese. String cheese or just sliced cheese or cheese cubes. So I usually finish my meal with some cheese, maybe cheese and crackers, cheese and nuts. Occasionally, I would finish my meal with a protein shake, a protein drink, in order to get enough protein in my body without a lot of added food to eat, but enough protein to last until my next meal the next day. But having occasionally some sugar-free cookies will be as part of a dessert with my meal. but I like having a little protein with my dessert, with my sugar. If not some cheese and nuts, occasionally some turkey jerky or beef jerky. I don't then feel deprived of my sweets or my fun food because I have a little bit with
Because you've
my
already done it.
meal.
You've already had it. So you can
Yeah,
kind of-
however, I do live alone, so I try to avoid buying food that I don't want to have around.
right.
I will buy sugar-free mints, and in the evening have a couple of sugar-free mints with my coffee or tea in the evening.
The other thing that, you know, this year has been weird with the pandemic, and a lot of us avoided restaurants for the first half of the year. So that was, you know, that made things easy for, you know, if you're trying to limit the amount of food, and American restaurants have enormous food portions, as we know. And I know that you like to go to restaurants as a social thing with friends, and you're gradually, you know, you gradually started going back in the summer and the fall as restaurants opened up and outdoor seating, etc. So how have you incorporated that into maintaining, you know, a less quantity fasting eating? Or are you able to sort of compartmentalize and say, I'm celebrating right now, so who cares, and I'm going to eat what I want?
Yes, every once in a while, I do say it's a rest day, a celebration day, but I have found that I don't finish my meals at the restaurant. I bring some home. The restaurants in our area, they serve Caesar salad, chicken Caesar salad. They serve chicken Asian salad. They even serve chicken spinach salad. So I will get protein, and I like the Caesar salad because it's mostly romaine lettuce. I like the spinach salad because I like little baby spinach leaves.
Me
And then
too.
occasionally a veggie omelet, or a veggie omelet with, I like bacon or ham bits in it. But I find I often take some home. And
Because
I don't always eat it later in the day. If I don't eat it within a couple of days, I figure it's better to put it in the round file, to waste it down in the trash instead of wasting it where I don't need it on me.
and that is another thing, you know, being able to say, I don't need this food and I'm not going to. I mean, for me as a parent, being the human disposal was always a thing where someone didn't eat their food on their plate, and I worked hard to make it, so I would just eat it.
Yes.
So the idea of being able to say, okay, this is too much food and I don't have to eat it is definitely a mental step that I have been able to take. And it sounds like you're taking too, as far as being able to throw something away that you're just never going to eat, instead of just saying, I better eat this because otherwise it will go to waste.
Right.
Interesting. So can you tell me about sort of physically how you're feeling as of, say, last fall? You know, how you've lost a significant amount of weight, and you are you know, you're doing this exercise, and we got the example of you at the parking lot, but can you tell me a little bit about, I mean, last fall was a nightmare. Everybody was afraid of the virus. There were no vaccines yet. And, you know, especially for seniors, it was scary that, you know, this virus seemed to attack a certain population. So could you tell me a little bit about that? That I think caused a lot of people to sort of huddle down and maybe, you know, seek comfort, but also physical, you
Right.
know, not feeling physically well. So tell me a little bit about how you're feeling now compared to a year ago.
Yeah. For me, when the virus hit, of the friends I would go out with, of course, we weren't going out. So I was eating at home, and because I was cooking at home, I was actually cooking better, mostly turkey and vegetables, a little bit of starch, and lots of vegetables and some fruit. So last year, I did actually lose a little bit of weight last year. I wasn't at home worried and eating for comfort. I have a neighbor, I'm alone. I have a neighbor who's a couple years older than me. She lives alone. So we would go for drives together. We would go through a drive-through and get some bad fast food and take it to the park. So we would go out once in a while. I would work in my yard, in my garden, which always needs tons of care and work. So I would get out, keep busy, keep in contact. I do belong to Toastmasters organization, which is an educational organization to develop our personal skills, our communication and leadership skills, our confidence. So, and I belong to a few different clubs.
Yes, you're not just a Toastmaster member. You are you're in a leadership role that you are
Yes,
doing a bunch of clubs.
and we met through Zoom. So I kept in contact with my Toastmaster friends through our Zoom meetings, which worked okay for me. I have a couple of friends who don't drive because they're blind, so thank goodness they're not on the road driving. And I would take them to the store, take them to a few errands. So I had some personal contact with a few of my closer friends. And then my broader friends, I had contact on these Zoom meetings. So I didn't feel alone, and that helped.
But
that truly
physically,
helped, having the connection.
Physically, before you started the exercise and before you started the time restricted eating, how were you feeling, this time last year?
Full all the time. I was feeling full and kind of bloated. Even though I was reducing my intake a little bit, it was still full, feeling full and bloated. Now, my stomach mostly feels empty, but I feel satisfied and full with an empty feeling stomach instead of a full feeling stomach because of the time restricted eating. Yes.
And that would be what Alipia would call exercising your fasting muscle. So basically, being used to that feeling of not being sort of overstuffed.
Right. It feels nice to feel satisfied, not hungry, and not stuffed. It's really a wonderful feeling.
And then tell me about, like, physically, without, after the 89 straight days of walking and the, can you do a sort of comparison as far as physically? I mean, obviously, I think that you have increased the mileage that you've been walking. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm not huffing and puffing when I'm walking. I live on a slight incline. My street has a slight incline. And just walking up the incline, I notice a big difference from walking down. But now I don't notice it anymore. I used to always start my walk on the up incline and then go level on a cross street and end on the down. Well, now I go down, across, up, across, and down. So I do a longer uphill incline, and it's just as easy as a short uphill. That I notice.
That's great. And did that make you, and when you were back before, like, say a year ago right now, fall, as things were turning into fall of 2020, it was very crazy. The election was coming up. There was a lot going on. Did you ever feel like you wanted to do something fun like ride a horse? I mean, were other sort of more fun possibilities, did they open up to you after the fasting started?
Well, what did come up was after the fasting started was getting back on the horse. That was a fun
Literally.
thing literally to look forward to. Yes. When my daughter was home, living at home before she graduated from high school, we both worked at a stables and helped take care of horses and maintain them. The stables was a training stables, not only for the horse, but for owners and their riders. And we would help with that. So we did quite a bit of riding. And then my daughter moved out, got a job, got married, and my riding was less and less. And then it was no more. And then I said,
But now you're planning a ride with the granddaughter, is that correct?
yes, I actually plan to see my daughter and granddaughter next month and hope to go riding with them. But then I put on weight after my daughter moved out. I didn't want to ride because I felt I'm too heavy for those poor horses. And I would probably fall off, not having good balance. But now I feel my balance is comfortable. I can easily stand on one foot and the other foot.
Nice, nice. So that is, you know, it kind of opens up more ideas for things that you maybe used to enjoy when you were younger, but sort of had pushed aside a little bit, and
Yes.
gives you a better
there is
horizon.
something on my bucket list that I pushed aside, and that is to do that, to jump out of an airplane with a parachute.
Oh,
Yeah. So I'm thinking I may
and you've got the aviation history too.
I
Yeah.
may put that back on my bucket list.
Fantastic. So, yeah, so it sounds like not only were there sort of physical changes that have gone on in this 9 months, or 10 months, but also kind of mental and attitude changes that this fasting program have brought on. Would you say that's fair?
It does. It makes you aware that a lot of our eating is just bad habitual eating, and that we have control, that we don't need to eat because our body really has enough nutrients from what I have eaten today. So I really don't need to eat more. It's just a habit of eating. And
can you tell people
habit.
about a 24-hour fast and how that, I mean, I think a lot of people, if you just told your friend, you know, just dropped in conversation, oh yeah, I've gone, you know, entire days without eating a single thing except water, you know, they might think that you were starving yourself, or they might get alarmed. Can you tell me a little bit about how sort of your mental attitude about that has changed?
I really haven't told a lot of people about the 24-hour fast because a lot of them really don't understand it or believe it or accept it. However, my fasts are not complete water fast. I do drink green tea, herbal tea, coffee with sugar-free French vanilla flavoring. And I do occasionally drink a 0-calorie drink. It's a flavored tea, a 0-calorie flavored tea drink.
Yeah, but even if you told someone that, an average American, you know, that I occasionally eat nothing for 24 hours and I just do, you know, I just drink some, they might freak out. So how would you explain it to someone who was brand new to this?
What I would normally say, think back to when men and women were cavemen and women. There would be feast and famine times, and they survived because we're here. So we can survive in this modern day and age. Having just a 24-hour famine time is nothing for our body. It's inherent in the body, that feast and famine attitude. And it's probably overall good for our body to live off of the stored fat and not just new food and new fat all the time. Live off of
Right.
stored
And
energy.
3-day, like 3 meal a day, the idea of 3 meals a day is very much ingrained into, especially I think into women who have cared for children. Is that's my experience. I have to feed people 3 meals a day or they're going to die.
Mhm.
And then you realize that, oh, actually, and I'm not saying don't feed your kids, but I am saying as adults, we don't need 3 meals a day. And in fact, and we certainly don't need 5 small meals a day and snacking in between and blah, 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 which has been a sort of, I remember when that was sort of a thing that, you should have 3 meals a day, but then a small snack in between,
Or
just
smaller 5 meals a day. I remember hearing that.
yeah. So crazy. When
I
you
just suggest to a few of my friends, just try it. Try to just do without 1 meal and just have a cup of tea or coffee or something if you think you need something, and see how it goes. My daughter, I have mentioned to my daughter, you do want to sit down with her daughter, her granddaughter, when she has meals, but for you, just have the tea or coffee, but sit at the table and keep them company.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Anything else as far as telling, people in retirement what fasting can do for them, as far as, it's a time to enjoy life. And, if there are physical constraints, worries, if you're feeling, if you're feeling physically restricted, it's like you worked all those years and now you have a hard time. So can you tell me a little bit about how that has, your attitude has changed a little?
A lot of it has to do, unfortunately, some of your own research. Not all doctors are aware of all the benefits of fasting, and some doctors wouldn't be real supportive of it. So we, in this electronic age, just have to take the time to do some of our own research if we have concerns. There are legitimate doctors out there. There are legitimate websites, and Alipio can put you in touch with them, or even Jean, that have support. There is support for the benefits of fasting. There is research going on and there is support. And if it isn't your specific doctor or your specific health advisor, search around for support for your fasting lifestyle. There are support out there, and find it. Having the support really helps. Having people say, good job, or having someone you're checking into. I'm going to be checking in with this group and I don't want to blow it, so I better behave myself.
I better
so
do my walk, right?
Good word
me
to check
too,
in on. Having the support really helps.
Great.
Not only to ask questions or share concerns, but then to brag on yourself. I did it. I did a 1906
6 or 5, 19,
and survived. Yes,
yeah.
I did a 2 meal and a 1 meal and survived. So having a group where you can brag to, I did it, helps.
Nice. Okay, anything else?
Not that I can think of. Anything else, Olivia?
No, I think you've covered it very much. Again, thank you, Margery, for agreeing to do this, and thank you, Jean, for taking on the heavy lifting here in terms of interviewing Margery. Again, I want to emphasize that both of these ladies are in the fasting support group and have been what I call founding members, and both of them are getting long-term benefits. So again,
sure.
thank you, and I guess that pretty much covers it.